After the obsessive villain lost his memory, he fell for me at first sight all over again. He forgot we were already married and went full caveman, locked me up in the snowy mountain villa and smothered me with rough, possessive love, day and night. His eyes, dark as a bottomless pool, fixed on me. Madness held tight on a leash in his voice. I won't be a homewrecker. Are you divorcing your ex-husband? Or do I make him disappear for good? I blinked, leaned in, and kissed him. He was silent for a moment, then yielded. Fine. No divorce then. The one who isn't loved is the real third party. Later, he found out I was pregnant. By the timing, the baby should be the ex-husband's. The villain's face went green. GA is a top international fashion magazine. The producer 4-inch heels. A Starbucks in hand hurried over and smiled at me. Isabel, I'm so glad you could come. I trust you most behind a camera. She glanced at me. What happened to your wrist? I froze, quietly tugged my sleeve down, heat crawling up my cheeks. Allergic, I murmured. Not just my wrist. My ankle, waist, and calves all carried Jason's fingerprints. My legs were jelly. Last night at the mountain villa, I'd fisted his tie and pleaded softly, I have a shoot tomorrow. The contract was signed 6 months ago. I can't bail. His black eyes were fathomless. His long, calloused fingers traced my waist, making me shiver. How much is the penalty? I'll cover it. It's not about the penalty. I cupped his face and said, Ernest, I gave them my word. I can't break it. Later, that tie ended up around my ankle. I struggled to crawl forward, but he caught my calf and hauled me back. All I could do was kneel on the carpet, choking as I clutched the pile. Jason wrapped me from behind, his low, velvety voice pouring into my ear. Isabel, come back early. Otherwise, I'll have to come get you. The studio was bright and spacious. Props were set, everyone in position. Today's shoot was for an ultra-luxury watch endorsement. I adjusted the aperture, flashed the lighting tech an OK sign, and asked, where's the star? Can't reach him. Let's wait. Sigh. We waited a full 4 hours. At 2 in the afternoon, Larry finally sauntered in. He slid off his sunglasses, looked around, chin cocked. Just woke up. Let's start. I hadn't had lunch. I was dizzy with hunger, as I swallowed my temper and aimed the lens at him. Larry suddenly frowned, jabbed a finger at me, and said rudely, Why is the photographer a woman? The producer blinked, then rushed to smooth things over. Isabel is a rising fashion photographer. We're lucky to have her. Larry rolled his eyes. What do women know about photography? Replace her. Waiting 4 hours was bad enough. Hearing that crap made my anger flare. I drew a breath and smiled without warmth. Mr. Larry, you shoot with your hands, not the thing between your legs, right? You that desperate for a male photographer because the ones who shoot with what's between their legs get you extra excited? Snickers rippled around us. Larry's face turned beet red. What bullshit? I'm straight as an arrow. His mouth worked, veins popping as he failed to out-argue me. Then he suddenly raised his hand. The next second, a long-fingered hand clamped his wrist and flung him aside. With that one motion, 6 feet of Larry sailed and hit the ground with a yelp. A familiar cedar scent washed over me, like an endless range of snowy peaks. Austere and still. My breath caught. I turned slowly. Jason lowered his dark gaze and looked at me in silence. The lights shimmered in his eyes like a rippling lake, holding only my reflection. His voice was deep. Isabel, are you okay? I shook my head. Why are you here? You didn't come back for lunch, so I had to come find you. He lifted his eyes, swept the room, and spoke mildly, the pressure unmistakable. Is this how the Richard series picks its spokespersons? Richard was the model name of the mechanical watch, each one priced in 8 figures. True hard luxury. A middle-aged man in a suit hurried out, sweating and bowing. Sorry, Mr. Jason, for making a scene. We'll terminate Larry's contract at once. The studio went dead quiet. Everyone stared, stunned by the turn. Then I remembered. Larry's watch brand belonged to the Smith Group. The first time I met Jason, he wasn't some Smith heir, he was flat broke. I was 16, carrying a bag of bread, heart hammering as I stared at the boy who'd just taken on 5 punks and chased off the muggers. He was thin, but his eyes were bright and razor sharp. He shot me a cool look. "What do you want with me?" Softly, I said. "Hi, I'll give you this food if you can chase my uncle away." I dropped my gaze to my toes. After my parents died, my uncle started acting strange. Last night he tried to lift my skirt. He's coming to my room again tonight. I'm scared. Please help me. Jason's eyes darkened. He said nothing, just fell into step behind me. That night, the uncle who tried sneaking into my room got his palm pierced clean through by a small knife. His screams rose like a stuck pig's. Jason grabbed him by the collar and threw him out. I caught Jason as he turned to leave. "Won't you stay a bit longer?" he said blandly. "Stay for what?" I looked at his worn clothes and the calluses on his fingers and thought, if you stay, I can buy you new clothes and a full meal. But Jason's pride would never take my charity, so I said, "There are so many mosquitoes tonight. Could you shoo them away for me?" At midnight, I woke to see the boy sitting quietly at my bedside, fanning me. His silhouette merged with the dark, and I felt, for once, safe. It was the best sleep I'd had since my parents died. From that day on, we never left each other's side. Jason went to school with me. He was the smartest person I'd ever met, always first in our year, and he later got into Tsinghua University. At 20, the Smith family claimed him back and made him the patriarch's youngest child. At 22, we registered our marriage, but with wolves circling in the Smith clan, we kept it secret to keep me safe. 4 years later, Jason gradually took the Smith Group in hand. Everything was looking up until a month ago, when he had a car accident. Scared out of my mind, I rushed to the hospital, only to find Jason looking at me with an expression I'd never seen. "You're the heroine? By the current timeline, you should already be married to that scumbag male lead." His gaze lingered on my face, dark and unreadable. "With a face like that, how could you have such lousy taste in men?" I was baffled. The therapist pulled me aside. "Here's the thing, Miss Isabel. Because of the concussion from the accident, Mr. Jason seems to have forgotten all memories involving you. He says this world is actually a novel. He's the villain, and you're the heroine." I was stunned. So in his head, I'm married to someone else? That so-called male lead? The therapist nodded. "Yes, the experts believe it's a rare form of amnesia. To avoid further trauma, we suggest you go along with his narrative for now, and not tell him that your current situation is different from the book's plot." I spun in place, helplessly. Then when can I tell him the truth? The therapist thought for a moment. "There's no need to force it. When his emotions or physical state are hit hard enough, it'll trigger the memories buried deepest in his mind and complete that missing piece of the puzzle. Until then, I advise you to maintain the status quo." The bad news: Jason had forgotten everything about me. The good news: he'd fallen for me at first sight, all over again. Even though he saw me as someone else's wife, that didn't stop him as the villain from taking what he wanted after falling for me, locking me away in his snowy mountain villa. Fine, you really do know how to play. In the studio, Larry finally recognized who Jason was. Terrified, tears in his eyes, he stammered, "Mr. Jason, I'm so sorry." I spoke out of turn. "Could you give me another chance?" Jason's brows drew together slightly, and with a flick of his hand, bodyguards stepped forward to drag Larry out. Cold, domineering, unquestionable. You'd never guess he'd taken a blow to the head. Hugging my camera, I sighed with a touch of gloom. Looks like today's shoot is a bust. Jason, quick to pick up on my mood, asked, "You really want to shoot?" I nodded. Photographers cherish every chance to work. He lowered his eyes. After a moment's thought, he undid a cufflink and slipped on the mechanical watch. His fingers were long and well-boned, veins standing out against the back of his hand, stunning to look at. He lifted his gaze to mine, his voice deep. "Then shoot me. Is that okay?" I raised my camera again. This time, the man in my frame was Jason, the man who'd been by my side for over a decade. I knew he was handsome, but through the lens, he was so good-looking, it made my knees weak. Like the most gifted sculptor's finest masterpiece, dark brows and eyes, straight nose, thin lips, a cool, austere air, and chiseled lines. His movements were crisp, no wasted motion, exuding that same ultimate cold-blooded charm as his real self. I swallowed involuntarily. Mess up his hair, make it a little wild. The prop and makeup crew exchanged glances. No one dared move. So I had to steel myself, step forward, and gently muss his hair. I stood while he sat. Our breaths mingled. I could smell the cool, faint cedar scent on him, see his Adam's apple bob, and those sharp, predator-like black eyes. Most people drop their gaze when locked in a stare, but not Jason. He didn't avoid or flinch. He looked straight into me. Just like how his favorite way to torment me was face-to-face, keeping every move, every flicker of expression under his control. A born control freak. My wrists went weak as I forced myself to finish the set. When the proofs came out, I heard gasps all around. Damn, that broad chest, narrow waist, and endless legs, pure predatory energy. This set is gonna blow up. Isabel's shots are amazing, off the charts on testosterone and tension. "Mr. Jason, have you considered becoming a model?" "Shh! Are you insane? Who could get the young master to model?" Jason arched a brow, took my arm, and said politely, "May I borrow the photographer? When the CEO of Smith Group speaks, who's going to say no?" I shot the producer a desperate look. She rubbed her nose, turned away, and pretended not to see. And so Jason swept me onto his private jet, past the city skyline, back toward that snowy mountain villa. Clouds drifted past the windows. Inside the luxurious cabin, it was just the two of us. I peeked up through my lashes at Jason, so close, and swallowed. His expression was unreadable. "Isabel, you promised you'd be home by noon. No point picking a fight now." I took his hand in both of mine and murmured, "It's not that I didn't want to come back. The star showed up late and held me up, but he only stroked my waist, ink pooling in his eyes, and said with a tenderness edged in cruelty, 'Isabel, tell me, how should I punish you? Your waist is so slender, shouldn't I put something in it?'" The snowy villa sat in the far north, wrapped in endless wind and ice. A fire blazed warmly in the great hall's hearth, thick sheepskin rugs spread on the floor, crystal chandeliers scattering snow bright light. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the distant mountains stood tall and white, like something out of a fairy tale. In the basement hot spring, I leaned against the pool wall, breathing softly. Steam flushed my cheeks. My back was pressed to Jason's solid, muscled chest, no chance of escape. No mercy for pleas. It was 1 a.m. by the time I collapsed into bed, moonlight spilling soft and still. Outside the windows, snow blanketed the world, frost clinging to cedar boughs. I sank into the plush pillows, too tired to lift a finger, drifting towards sleep. Jason held me tight, his arms warm and solid, as if they could keep out all the storms of the world, just like every day we'd been together, safe and content. His breath warmed my ear as he suddenly said, "Isabel, when are you divorcing that bastard ex-husband of yours?" My heart jolted awake. He still remembered that in his mind, I was married to some jerk. In his version, after my parents died when I was 15, the male lead's family adopted me. After countless melodramatic twists, we finally managed to get a happy ending. But in reality, 15-year-old me wasn't adopted by the male lead's family. I was taken in by my uncle. A year later, I met Jason. He was the one who grew up with me, my childhood sweetheart, the one I fell in love with and married, the only one I could ever love Jason. I pursed my lips and poked his firm chest. If I divorced that bastard, I wouldn't have a husband anymore. Jason's face went black instantly. So you like your ex that much? I smiled with my eyes. Mm-hmm. Like him a lot. Love him, even. His voice was thick with jealousy. What's so great about that scumbag? Is he richer than me? Better looking than me? Got 8-pack abs like me? Last longer than me? He gripped my chin, teeth clenched. I won't be the other man. So, are you divorcing him? Or should I make him disappear for good? I blinked and leaned in to kiss him. Jason's expression eased slightly, though his voice stayed cool. Flattery won't work on me. I cupped his face and planted kiss after kiss, finally brushing his lips and lingering there in a long kiss. When we pulled apart, both of us were breathing harder. In a soft voice, I asked, "Not even this kind of bribe works?" I rested my forehead against his, eyes curved in a smile. From birth to death, from past to present, from real to unreal, I will only ever love you. Isn't that enough? The crease between Jason's brows smoothed out, his expression softening, the shadow on his face lifting entirely. All right. He came to terms with it quickly, fighting the upward tug of his lips, but failing as they curled anyway. No divorce, then. The one unloved is the real third wheel. I buried my face in his solid chest, shaking with the effort of holding back my laughter. 3 days later, the Richard series watch campaign I shot of Jason went live. The moment it dropped, it blew up the trending charts. Damn! Who's that model? Handsome, wild, dripping with class. And he looks like he's damn capable too. My legs went weak. Just looking, same here. I dug through the credits, but the model's name is missing. So mysterious. Wasn't Larry supposed to be the spokesperson? He got replaced out of nowhere. I even saw his fans flaming the photographer Isabel, I think, saying she bullied their precious oppa on set. Ha! Everyone knows Larry's a diva. Can't believe they tried to flip the script. Latest industry gossip, Larry's been quietly blacklisted, contract cancelled, all activities halted. Heard he pissed off the wrong person. What? Who's powerful enough to blacklist a top star like that? My phone wouldn't stop pinging, my follower count shot up by hundreds of thousands, and over a dozen job offers rolled in. I replied to a few that caught my interest, put down my phone, and headed to the study to grab a photography book. 2 male voices came from inside. One, unfamiliar, had a lazy drawl. Jason, have you no shame? Modeling to sell watches yourself. What is the Smith Consortium going bankrupt so you have to pimp yourself out? The other was Jason's, with a short, amused snort. Look who's talking, Jack. Who got drunk last time and told me he came back to get revenge on Wenjuexia? Revenge? By investing in her and making her the beneficiary on the shares? Why not just hand over the entire Morgan estate to her while you're at it? Jack choked, then snapped, embarrassed. It's all part of my plan. I have my own pace. Shh. Jason's voice was dripping with mockery. Pace, master. There was some shuffling inside. Then Jack seemed to decide he'd had enough. He turned to leave and froze when he saw me at the door. Miss Isabel, Mr. Pace. I almost bit my tongue. Mr. Jack. Jack beat a hasty retreat. I covered my mouth, trying to keep my smile polite and not burst out laughing, then gossiped to Jason. What was that about? He's just being stubborn. Let's see how long he lasts. Jason looped his arms around me from behind. What are you looking for, Isabel? Mr. Lyon's photography collection. The villa's study was practically a library. Towering shelves lined an entire wall, the golden Nanmu wood gleaming, packed with books of every kind. Jason stretched his long arm up and took down the one I wanted. The fresh ink scent was always my favorite. But this time, as I opened it, I gagged and clutched my stomach. Jason's face changed instantly. What's wrong? I waved him off, trying to smile, but clapped a hand over my mouth and bolted for the bathroom. The family doctor arrived quickly. After an exam, he glanced at the HCG number on my blood work and smiled. Congratulations, you're 3 months pregnant. Jason froze, instinctively looking at my still flat belly. A second later, his face turned to stone. Jason had only locked me in the villa a month ago, which meant the baby could only belong to my ex-husband. The doctor noticed the look on Jason's face and made himself scarce. Jason's gaze settled slowly on me, as if he wanted to say something but couldn't get a single word out. His face was bloodless. The air grew heavy and suffocating. My heart thudded uneasily as I touched my stomach, knowing I had to say something. Jason, this baby. Maybe I should tell him the truth? But last week's follow-up had shown no improvement in his amnesia. For the stability of the neurons in that special part of his brain, the doctor still recommended keeping the status quo. Jason, however, cut me off. I need to cool down. His fists clenched, veins standing out, as he forced the words through his throat. I'm very worked up right now, Isabel. Don't talk to me. Let me go cool off. His body leaned toward me, as if he wanted to come closer, but at the last second he restrained himself. In the end, he only released his fists and gently stroked my cheeks so soft, like touching a cloud. Pain and struggle flickered in his eyes, his voice hoarse. I don't want to do something I can't take back when I'm not in my right mind. That night, Jason came home late. He carried the chill of the outside air, warmed himself, then slid into bed and held me like always. I heard him ask, Isabel, do you want to keep the baby? I opened my mouth. Yes, I wanted to keep this child, who carried both mine and Jason's blood. Jason held me so tightly it was as if he wanted to fuse me into his very bones. His arms trembled slightly, his breath ragged and uneven. After a long moment, he exhaled deeply, stroked my hair, and said in a low voice, All right, then we'll keep it. When it's born, I'll raise it. It will be our only child. A sudden thought struck me. I jolted upright, grabbing his collar, my voice shaking. What did you do this afternoon? Jason, what did you do this afternoon? He said nothing, just looked at me. My hands were trembling now. You smell like disinfectant. You went to the hospital, didn't you? Jason, did you? He gave a small smile. You guessed right, Isabel. I got a vasectomy. Jason's dark eyes were as still as a bottomless lake. His lashes lowered, and a flicker of light rippled across that surface, like a tear. Honestly, I never wanted any kids. I don't want my Isabel to suffer. But if you want to give birth, then have it. As long as it's your child, I'll love it. A tear slipped down my cheek and onto the blanket. Then more came, unstoppable. My heart felt steeped in warm water, aching and soft. How could I ever doubt Jason's love for me? From that day on, Jason took even greater care of me. He earnestly consulted the doctor on every precaution during pregnancy, writing them down one by one in a notebook. My appetite grew picky after I became pregnant, so every meal was cooked by Jason himself, with the freshest ingredients, light in flavor yet delicious. Most of the time, I stayed with Jason in the snowy mountain villa. Every afternoon, when the sunlight was at its best, we'd wrap ourselves in a warm blanket, the crackle of the fireplace in the background, and he'd hold me quietly as we watched the snow outside. But the Smith family's empire was vast, and there were still matters that required him to be there in person. Jason rested his head on my lap. Isabel, I have to go to Switzerland for a week on business. Take good care of yourself while I'm gone. I laughed. Don't worry, I'm not a 3-year-old. I can look after myself just fine. I never imagined that an accident would actually happen. While Jason was away, someone colluded with the house staff to drug and kidnap me. Drip, drip, I heard the sound of water. My head splitting with pain, my hands bound tightly behind me with coarse rope that bit into my skin. A damp, decaying smell filled the air. As my consciousness returned, I kept my eyes closed, forcing myself to stay calm. Where was I? Who had taken me? One thing was certain, they planned to use me against Jason. A cold, sinister voice broke the silence. Since you're awake, stop pretending. My heart gave a hard jolt. as I slowly opened my eyes. I was in an abandoned warehouse, dark and damp, with only a few narrow beams of light streaming in through small windows high on the walls. In front of me sat a man and a woman, both studying me with a mocking air. My heart sank as I recognized them, Jason's eldest brother and second sister. The sister looked me up and down like she was inspecting a corpse. Will kidnapping her even work? The brother chuckled. Just wait. This woman is different for him. He made a call, his tone dripping with false cheer. My dear brother, are you losing your mind looking for someone? Come alone if you dare call the police, or bring anyone else. You can forget about ever seeing her again. His gaze slid over my face like a snake's tongue. Slick and nauseating. I hear she's pregnant. Tell me, should I send you the baby inside her as a gift? My heart pounded wildly, my palms damp with cold sweat, but I forced myself to stay composed. I had to do something before Jason arrived. I couldn't just sit and wait. Lowering my eyes, I feigned fear while secretly pressing the button on my watch. A tiny blade popped out from the side of the dial. Still shivering in pretense, I began sawing at the ropes on my wrists with the small blade. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, every second a torment. I had no idea how long it had been before the warehouse door swung open. Against the light, Jason's silhouette appeared in the doorway. My second sister gave a short laugh. Didn't think you'd turn out to be such a romantic. She pointed a gun at me, threatening. Toss the goods over. Then raise your hands and walk over here. Jason threw a box to her, then lifted his hands and began walking toward us. Step by step. His eyes were bloodshot, his jawline taut, his whole body trembling with the effort to contain his emotions. His gaze never left me, checking for any injuries. My second sister snatched the box, opening it to confirm the contents. The company seal, certificates of deposit worth billions, and share transfer documents. She gave a small nod to the eldest brother. Looks good. Jason's face was dark as he ground out. You've got what you wanted. Let her go. But the eldest brother suddenly burst into manic laughter. Let her go? Jason, when did you get so naive? Did you forget how you dealt with us back then? They call you King Smith in the business world. What turned into a little lamb in front of Isabel? His eyes bulged so wide, it seemed they might pop from their sockets. His mouth twisting in a grin. Now, I want you to know what it feels like to lose the one you love most. His face twisted with malice as he swung the gun toward me and pulled the trigger. My pupils contracted sharply, taking advantage of the rope finally giving way. I rolled hard to the side, dodging the bullet. But in the next instant, my second sister's gun was aimed squarely at me. This time, there was no room to escape. Isabel! In that split second, Jason lunged at me like lightning. A muffled gunshot rang out. He took the fatal bullet for me. At the same moment, he raised his hand and fired twice, hitting both of them in their right hands. The bullet struck Jason's right chest, blood gushing from the wound, pooling on the floor in a vivid, shocking stain. His face didn't change, his eyes still locked firmly on mine. Isabel, are you all right? It felt like 1,000 blades were tearing into my heart and soul. I could only repeat over and over, I'm fine. I'm fine. Are you okay? Stay with me, Jason. Don't close your eyes. You're going to be okay, please. Don't leave me. My hands trembled as I pressed down hard on his wound, trying to stop the bleeding, but it was useless. Jason struggled to lift his hand and clasp mine. His eyes were bright, as if the fog that had clouded his mind and stolen his memories had finally blown away, revealing the clear sky. Isabel, I remember now. Jason panted, the combined shock of his injuries and the emotional impact proving too much. His body went limp, and he fainted. The police and doctors arrived quickly, rushing him into surgery. The bullet lodged in his ribcage was removed, but he had suffered a right chest perforation, massive blood loss, and severe shock. He spent a week in the ICU. A week later, Jason was transferred to a VIP ward. I followed close behind. He was half reclined in bed, still pale, but his eyes were startlingly bright. Isabel. Then, lowering his gaze, a rare flush spread over his cheeks. I crossed my arms, looking down at him. Got all your memories back? Jason's face turned even redder. I gave a short, amused snort. Didn't think you had that kind of kink, Jason. Putting a green hat on yourself still had to go after me, even if I was someone else's wife. Huh? His head dipped lower, long, straight lashes, casting faint shadows over his eyelids. For someone usually so cold, his shyness was unexpectedly endearing. I poked at him. Hey, if I really had married someone else, what would you have done? Jason's lashes fluttered, his gaze soft. If the husband dies, the marriage ends automatically, doesn't it? I couldn't help but laugh. Truly the villain of this world, so very in character. Jason pushed himself upright, his bandaged hand gripping mine. I'm sorry, Isabel, for misunderstanding you for so long. He looked at me quietly, his gaze like a deep, still lake, drawing me in, full of unspoken feeling. Isabel, this is the second time I've forgotten you, isn't it? The first time we met wasn't when we were 16. We saw each other long, long before that. I smiled and kissed him. Yes, you finally remember. This is the second time you've forgotten me. For as long as I could remember, I knew I had an older neighbor boy named Jason. Jason and I were born just months apart, naturally growing up together. Childhood sweethearts, innocent and inseparable. We spent some of the happiest days of our lives together. Then his mother was diagnosed with cancer. To pay for treatment, they sold their house and moved away, disappearing without a trace. When I was 15, my parents died in a plane crash. I locked myself in my room for a whole month, shutting out the world, nearly starving myself to death. That's when I heard a mechanical voice in my head. Ding! Detected. Heroine has become an orphan. Tragic White Lotus heroine system, successfully bound. I lifted my head blankly. Who are you? Hello, host. I am your system. You are the tragic White Lotus heroine of this world. In 1 week, the plot will begin. You will be adopted by the male lead's family, and from then on, you will embark on a turbulent romance with him. During your relationship with the male lead, you will lose 1 kidney and your uterus. But in the end, you will win his love and achieve a happy ending. Next, please complete the first step of the plot. Be adopted by the male lead's family. It was like a bolt of lightning struck me. I was silent for a whole minute before forcing out, in disbelief. So my parents' deaths were just to set me up to meet the male lead? The mechanical voice replied coldly, yes. According to the plot, only by becoming an orphan can the heroine be adopted by the male lead's family. My eyes widened in shock. A burst of laughter escaped me, my body trembling with it even as tears stung my eyes. What kind of bullshit plot would take my parents' lives? My voice turned cold. Forget your ridiculous ideas. I'm not some heroine being controlled by someone's pen, and I'm not your puppet to move around at will. Besides, I already like someone. The mechanical voice was flat. You mean Jason? Jason is the villain of this world. He will become the male lead's business rival. You two can't be together. The system has already erased all his memories of being with you. He won't remember you, and he won't love you. I covered my ears and staggered to my feet. Then I straightened my spine and walked forward, step by step, out of the room where I had shut myself away for a month. I am Isabel. I belong to myself, not to some author's puppet strings. My fate will only ever be in my own hands. Before the male lead's family could adopt me, I had already gone to live with my uncle. The way he looked at me made my skin crawl, but I was quick-witted and handled it, never letting him succeed. Still, he grew bolder and more disgusting, like a toad squatting on your foot, not deadly, but revolting. The system would often nag in my ear. What's so good about living with your uncle? This house isn't even as big as the male lead's bathroom. Don't you want to enjoy luxury in the male lead's home and become the future lady of a wealthy family? I smirked. No, not only do I not want to be the lady of a wealthy family, I don't want that so-called male lead to be the master of one either. What are you going to do? The male lead's family business wasn't exactly clean. Knowing the plot ahead of time, I spent half a year gathering evidence and wrote an anonymous report. Then, to the system's deafening alarm, I handed it to the Anti-Corruption Bureau. The authorities took it seriously within months. The male lead's family was stripped to the bone, their high society glory gone for good. Left with only scraps, the male lead's family fled abroad to lie low. From start to finish, I never once met the man who was supposed to take my kidney and womb. The system was silent for a long time before finally sighing helplessly. The male lead has deviated from the plot. Binding failed. The system will leave this world in 24 hours. Host, you are free. The day the system left, the weather was beautiful. The sky was like a vast blue gemstone, clear and bright. Sunshine poured down unhindered, warm and gentle. I bought a bag of rat poison, then picked up a bag of bread, humming as I walked home, cheerfully planning how to get rid of my uncle without leaving a trace. The next moment, I saw a familiar figure, tall and well-proportioned, with broad shoulders and long legs, slender in the way of youth. He was thinner than I remembered, and a little colder in demeanor. The wind lifted the hem of his coat like a flower I'd been searching for. Finally reunited after a long separation, I blinked away the moisture in my eyes, exhaled softly, and smoothed my face into an innocent expression as I tossed the rat poison into a trash bin. Tilting my head, sniffling, and adding a touch of a sob to my voice, I said softly, "H, hi. My uncle's been bullying me. Could you help me chase him away?" The boy lifted his head, dark, narrow eyes meeting mine. After a pause, he said flatly, "Lead the way." I smiled, hurrying toward him, my skirt fluttering happily in the wind. Nothing could keep us apart. Jason might have forgotten me, but that was fine. I would make him fall in love with me all over again. The days after passed quickly and quietly. The police transferred the case to the prosecutor's office. Jason's eldest brother and second sister were convicted of attempted murder, kidnapping, and extortion. With multiple sentences combined, they would spend the rest of their lives in prison. Justice served. 2 months later, Jason was discharged from the hospital. 4 months after that, I gave birth to a tiny, soft little girl, our daughter. After 6 months of postpartum rest, I returned to work, producing more outstanding pieces and becoming a renowned photographer, often traveling the world for shoots. Jason often dropped everything to stick by my side, turning it into an excuse to travel the world with me. One day, a luxury brand from the C family wanted to shoot a fashion campaign on a cliffside. The producer fretted over not finding the right location, and CG would look too fake. After a moment's thought, I told her, "I have a cliffside villa. Want to see it?" The producer's eyes lit up, and she immediately set out with the crew. Naturally, Jason came along. We passed by the cliffside villa. At the meeting point of sea and sky stood the villa, modern and minimalist. White walls paired with dark glass. The massive floor-to-ceiling windows framed a view of endless ocean and steep cliffs. White spray glittering silver in the sunlight. The producer gushed her praise and sent the crew to set up. Jason strolled around, then came back to loop an arm around my waist, murmuring in my ear, "Isabel, when did you buy this place?" I winked at him. "Guess." Jason chuckled low. "Was it when I'd lost my memory?" His lips curved in a smug little smile. "You picked this as the place to imprison me." I only pressed my lips together and smiled at him. He'd guessed right. When I found out Jason had lost every memory of me for the second time, I nearly lost my mind. Anxiety and depression engulfed me, like a lone boat in a raging storm, drowning in darkness. How could he forget me again? How could he not love me again? So I bought this cliffside villa. Silent, lonely, cut off from the world. I planned to bring Jason here, lock the doors, and make it just the two of us. And if he didn't fall in love with me a third time, I'd hold him and jump from the cliff. Thankfully, Jason fell for me at first sight again. Before I could imprison him, He had already taken me to the snowy mountain villa. Thinking of it now, I couldn't help but laugh. We really were made for each other. Jason's face was full of tenderness and love as he held me tight, murmuring in my ear, "Isabel, no matter how many times I lose my memory, I will fall in love with you again and again, over and over, without hesitation." I smiled, tightened my grip on his hand, and kissed his cheek. We were born to be together, because love is not for the pampered. Love is for warriors,